Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Spirited Dialogue hosted by Transformity. I'm Asanka Besingha.
I'm Gautam Palapa.
We are the co-founders of Transformity, where our mission is to transform organizations through technology and empathy. So we were speaking about value for a while and went through a few episodes. We look at the organization value and then how you measure it. Last episode we named it as a measure what matters. And we little bit touch based on some of the methodologies as well, OKR, SMART goals, so and so forth. And today we thought continue, but look at a different avenue. That's about identifying impediments. Because transformation is a journey, it's like a treasure hunt. So identifying these impediments and then what are the most high and what are the low value stuff as well as low impact stuff. It's very important because then only we can go through this treasure hunt and then achieve our objectives. Again, it's a journey, not a destination. So we never know what's coming, and agility and adaptability is key here as well, that we keep on repeating about this. So why don't Gautam we jump into that topic?
Yeah, and thank you for prefacing it that way because at the end of the day, when you really look at a digital transformation, it's about managing the appetite for risk within an organization. Everything that we do in a digital transformation or in a modernization journey is to ensure that we can transform ideas into value as quickly as possible and with the least amount of risks. And so the way that we can do it is by proactively understanding and identifying the impediments that will prevent us from achieving success on our outcomes and try to put some countermeasures or try to manage it so that it becomes part of our culture as an organization and people are not going to freak out or they're not going to come to a halt just because they ran into a roadblock or something that they perceive as impacting the entire value stream. So there are two ways that I would say we can start off doing this. And I think in some organizations I have seen, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, Asanka, is some of the executives, they combine both the strategic narrative and the strategic way of identifying impediments along with the departmental or the tactical way of doing it. And so when you're operating at multiple levels, the kind of impediments that you identify usually tend to become more tactical or operational because you dive into the process and the technology. But instead, what I would highly encourage is we break it down into two different levels. One is the strategic level, and the other one is the departmental or the tactical or operational level. And
Yeah.
in the strategic level, we want to start off with things like the SWOT analysis, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so looking at our internal weaknesses and threats, we can pinpoint impediments. And then another common one that I really like to do is the PESTEL analysis, that is the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal factors, so that that gives a 360-degree view of all the external impediments that could be brought. We've talked in a couple of episodes before about stakeholder feedback and trying to get feedback from them on what the impediments could be. Competitive analysis is another one. And historical review, like obviously the company would have gone through it in some way, shape, or form before. Let's analyze the past initiatives, find out why it failed. What was successful there? Were there any recurring issues that happened? The challenges that hampered those specific goals. So I think if we start at a strategic level and have a dichotomy between strategic impediments and tactical and operational, that would make it much more efficient in my mind. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. And these are some of the mistakes even I have done in some of these transformation efforts. Like it's like identifying what matters. Again, individually, it's important to highlight what matters for each and every individual as well. As a steering committee, we should have a global understanding, but we should know each and every individual do have a part to play. while they have a clear idea about the common objectives, vision, so on and so forth, they should have a deep understanding about the area that they are working on as well as the contribution that they are making. So it's very important to have that two levels, strategic impediments, and then tactical level stuff based on departments or teams or whatever the domain that we call, and then execute in that way. But as the steering committee, it's our responsibility is to reverse engineer some of this stuff as well, because if something is changing at the strategic level, how it will impact at the department level, that's one. And then again, if there's a roadblock at the department level, then how it is impacting the strategic level. So we need to do that, because strategic level impact will affect other units as well. So how we can communicate it as well as keep on changing the plan. I think that's where one thing that I highlighted about adaptability and then the agility that we should have in these activities will play a role.
Yep, totally agree. So one needs to feed into the other. So we need to have feedback loops. We need to ensure that anything that happens in the strategic level will influence the departmental level meetings and all the other conversations. The steering committee that you're talking of should be the translator and the conduit that will evaluate and assess and make sure that there is connectivity between the strategic level impediments and the initiatives that are trying to counter them against the departmental or the operational level. So that is really important. And if we drill in a little bit more on the departmental side of things, what I would say is you need to be more specific, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Right? This is where we truly need to have the right people in the room. We need to have people who and empower them to make the right decisions as required. And then do things like value stream mapping or value stream analysis. That is really, really important to ensure that we are making the value flow through the organization as seamlessly as possible. If you're on the software side, if we're doing software development, then path to production exercises is something that I've always found really beneficial. Like, how quickly can developer committing code create working software for me in production? That needs to be the way that we look at it. And this is where all the benefits of things like automation, systemic approaches, repetition, reusable code, accelerators, those kind of things will come in. So that's really powerful. And that's more on the technology and the process side. What I would say is we also need to assess the skills and areas of opportunities. So a concrete example, both of us live, and it's pretty much almost every organization now, we live in a world where Kubernetes and containers is becoming really, really important. And we are getting workloads in production on Kubernetes, which means we need to assess the skills of the developers and make sure that we are able to upskill them and promote them into areas and provide them opportunities in that way. And I'm not talking about stack ranking people, because that is a mistake that I see some organizations do. I've been vehemently against, very vocal against stack ranking, and I think Asanka, we've had passionate discussions about it.
Yeah.
But we want to look at the maturity spectrum, probably do things like 9box or, assess where they currently are and put learning plans together to make them move there. What I would say is, we want to evaluate these impediments from a political or cultural perspective, from a people perspective, a process perspective, and a technology perspective. But we always need to have our definition of success as the North Star. That is something that some people do lose sight of when they go down this path.
Yeah, I think that skill issue is very important, and I think there are two parts of this thing. One is the team. As a team, we identify these skills, as well as there's an individual contribution and responsibility as well. So I'll take an example from my school days. I used to run relays a lot, and then I look at the all other three people, what type of a start they are getting, and then who's before me after me, and then adjust my skill set. As an example, once I had my previous runner is a left-hander. So I had to adjust myself a lot because I didn't want to give the burden to him and turn the battle to his right hand. How I can grab it from his left hand and then hand over it to my next player. So like that, I think it's a complete team effort. And again, the objective is winning the race, right? Not about my previous player's skill or the other player that I am hand over in baton. So similarly, organizations should have these things very clearly defined, the goals and the objectives, and each and every individual should prep. And one thing I would like to suggest is about open communication when it comes to impediments, because detecting this stuff early as well as communicating this stuff early is very, very important. So most of the time organizations, they don't have open communication policy. People are really reluctant to even send a public email. So changing that is part of our responsibility as leaders in these transformation projects. And another thing is use a technology, like how we can detect these things using the machine learning, AI, all this technology stuff that we have, and carefully monitor and have more kind of a predictive view of what's really happening and take decisions as well.
There are so many wonderful points that you brought in here. I'll touch upon three things. The first thing is, I love the fact that your story that you talked about emphasized the importance of agility and adaptability. That is so indicative of the characteristics or traits that are required in order to be successful. And again, you called out that the goal, you must never lose sight of the goal, but because it's not participation or it's not collaboration, it is to win, it is to succeed. So your definition of success is important. The third thing that I really love that you brought up is you started touching upon open communication. I want to go a little more and say psychological safety is the most important thing. Like, that is the first thing we need to evaluate within our organization, because people should be really comfortable and realize that there's no repercussions if they speak their mind or if they provide their point of view, obviously respectfully, but they should be okay to openly talk about it, to have that candor and transparency within the organization. Because if you don't have that, if you don't have psychological safety, there is no positive culture. And if you don't have positive culture, all you're going to do is you're going to have a bunch of folks saying yes to anything that you propose or anything that you say. And it's going to defeat the cause altogether. So we need to make sure that psychological safety, open communication, transparency is really important. I also say that we need to shoot for alignment and agreement and not necessarily universal acceptance. That is something that I've seen, especially in some organizations, spending months and months through analysis paralysis or trying to come to a consensus where they want unilateral acceptance or agreement or acceptance of any of the decisions that they're taking. But we don't need that. We just need everyone to agree and align to what we have decided to do, and then hold people accountable on the people who have to drive and solve that problem. That's one thing that I do want to stress.
Exactly. I think that cultural aspect is very important in this matter as well, because it's circling back, like whatever we have, I think culture is the foundation. So we need to have these things as part of the culture, rooted very deeply into the culture.
Yes. Can I since I'm already on a rant,
Yeah.
can I jump on another one?
Yeah,
I want
sure.
to talk about prioritization, because every time we work on impediments, it usually translates, and this is where people get jaded. It usually translates into a bunch of additional initiatives that are added on to the backlog, and pretty soon it causes the tyranny of the backlog. Everything has high priority, which means nothing has priority. We need to enable people and empower them to actually assess both the impediments and the initiatives and figure out if they're actually working towards our business outcomes, towards the success of our business outcomes, to be even more specific. So one of the things that I really recommend people doing is an impact effort analysis, where it's a simple 2 by 2 matrix where you have the matrix running, the axes running from high impact, low impact to high impact, and low effort to high effort. We analyze the initiatives, or we actually start with the impediments, and then put them in these 4 boxes. We try to identify things that are high impact, low effort, because
Yep.
those become the quick wins, and then so on and so forth. But the thing that I want to stress upon is identifying those impediments, or even those initiatives when you get to next to it, is the ones that are low impact but high effort. We should enable people to question them, to deprioritize them if possible,
Yep.
freeze or even abandon them. It's perfectly okay, because you're going to spend a bunch of effort doing something for outliers that may or may not occur,
Yep.
and the impact is going to be less. But instead, we can focus and channelize that energy into something else.
Yeah, I think that's very important, and it has to be like at least weekly. But my recommendation is daily. For an executive, it has to be a daily prioritization. Personally, I do it 3 times a day: morning, midday, and at the end as well, because there are multiple things are coming, and you have to again adjust it, as well as the progress are coming from different angles, so you need to assess that as well. So then having these kind of 3 levels at the day will help you to prioritize it. As an end of the day, you will feel a lot better because you have add value, right? Otherwise you have done a lot, but you have not add value. So that's where like hard working versus smart working coming and playing a role as well.
Yes, I totally agree. And then at a organizational level, I would say, so what we're talking of is for initiatives that are already in flight, we want to have like a daily check-in, or at least from a strategic level or from a leadership level, have like a 3 times a day check-in if needed in order to make it happen. But from an organizational and from a departmental level, I would say at a minimum, I would recommend monthly if possible, but at a
Yeah.
minimum, we need to revisit this quarterly to ensure that we're still on the right track. Do these initiatives actually still make sense? Because the market is shifting, the dynamics are changing, there's so many other complexities that are coming. So we need to assess if we are still on the right track or if we have to pivot and persevere. And that's okay. It's not good for us to have that sunken cost fallacy and just go down that road because we've invested a certain amount of time and money. It's fine. We can regroup and reimagine and rethink and then shift in order to achieve success better with the right strategy.
Yeah, I think that if individuals are doing on daily basis, and that cascading effort to upstream will naturally come, so then it will go into monthly and probably a quarterly type of
Yes.
review, and then do the adjustments. I think one mistake organizations are doing this yearly reviews,
Yeah.
and then try to readjust, but I don't think we are in a business like that, so we have to adjust it as frequent as much as possible.
I totally agree with that. Yearly is extremely costly,
Exactly.
and it could actually be extremely detrimental to the survival of organizations at some points. So, if you are doing a yearly review of not only your initiatives but also your impediments, and that sort of aligns with your budgeting cycle, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yep. Yeah, I think we touched based on multiple points in this topic, and then I believe it's a good starting point for everybody. So thanks for listening. But for the benefit of the listeners, Gautam, why don't you quickly summarize what we discussed?
Sure. Sure. Here's the TLDR. So we talked about how we can identify impediments at a strategic and a departmental or operational level and how important that is. At a strategic level, some of the tools to use are SWOT analysis, PESTEL analysis, stakeholder feedback, competitive analysis, regularly assessing things on a daily basis is really critical. And then looking at historical precedents. At an operational level, you want to do your value stream mapping and analysis, your path to production exercises, skill assessment, trying to bring in your people to up level them to achieve the success at their outcomes. Evaluating things from a politics or culture, a people, process, and technology lens is really important. We want to make sure that there is abundant psychological safety in the organization before we conduct these kinds of workshops or efforts. If not, that's your first impediment. That's what you need to work on. Prioritization using business outcomes is key. And we want to prune our initiatives using impact effort analysis. And we need to be courageous to freeze or kill initiatives in flight if they don't help in achieving success for our business outcomes. And we need to revisit regularly to ensure we're still on the right track, or if we have to pivot and persevere.
Great, great. I hope you all enjoyed this episode as much as we did. As always, please reach out to us through the Contact Us From or on social media, and we are happy to hear your thoughts and improve our podcast as well. Then again, like if you have any suggestions that we should speak about, please put those ideas down. We are happy to consider those. Until next time, from all of us at Transformity, cheers.
Cheers.